Hi guys. So I was invited to come to this meeting here for that group that I mentioned it in one of my earlier videos. The one with walking and it's kind of a week ago. So they invited me to come to this meeting and it's in this fancy building. It's like these fancy buildings here, apartment buildings on Miami Beach.
We're going to go straight into the building on the right. Please give that to the gentleman at the front.
Okay, thank you. It's a fountain with music. I just came in over there and it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. And then these are the buildings. But I have to go to this building here. The lobby. Oh, okay, so they told me that I have to go through these doors. They had to unlock them for me. There's security there. Oh, there's more fountains here. It's all fountains all over the place. Okay. So he says he's going to tell me when to get off. There's a camera in here. This is not the right elevator. That's the wrong elevator.
Lobby.
I didn't listen to the directions he gave me. Oh, wrong elevators. Sorry. I guess I go on these elevators. Oh, okay. There we go. I'm not sure what I'm filming because I'm not sure what I'm filming because I'm trying to be, you know, discreet. Dear residents, we ask for your deep consideration of your home. Okay, so he's gonna, I guess, he's gonna tell me. I don't understand what he told me to do.
You got on the wrong elevator.
Okay, was I in the right one before?
Yes.
Oh, okay, it just looked kind of weird. All right, can I, do I open this?
No.
Okay, hang on a second, door open, I got it. All right, I'll go to the other ones. Oh, goodness. It's kind of complicated. Okay. It's really, there we go. I keep thinking it's saying my name. Okay, so I'm just supposed to, there's no buttons in this elevator. You tell the front desk where you want to go, and then they you have to just stand in the elevator. Oh, it's moving. Okay. I was here before. Oh, I'm such a mess. I came from work, like basically I didn't even eat dinner or anything. All right. So we'll see if this is something that I feel comfortable with, this group. I'll turn it on later.
Marcia, nice to meet you. How are you? Good. Come on, we just started.
So I went to pay for the valet parking and they told me they can't take credit cards because their machine is broken. So I gotta go to the ATM. Hello. Oh, which way is the ATM? I'm looking for the ATM machine.
ATM machine?
Yes.
So if you go straight there, take a left, and it's right past the elevator.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Over here by the restaurant. Over here? Oh. Sorry. I cannot find this ATM. is he sending? Oh, look at that. What is that? It's a cute little car. Oh my gosh, that's like the money saving, probably energy saving. He's admired you. Okay. I don't know where this ATM machine is. These beautiful dresses. Actually, oh, there it is. I went to see the dress. Okay. Well, that was kind of strange. I was at a meeting that I was curious about. I got invited to a meeting, which it seemed sort of like a religious cult meeting. You know how they invite you, come and see, you know, Scientologists do it, Jehovah's Witnesses do it. I'm sure the Moonies do it. I've never been to a Moonies meeting, but, you know, any of these, and some of them are cults and some aren't. And there's a fine line between an established religion and a cult. You know, there are some that are obviously established, respected religions. There are cults, which is the other extreme. And then you have these sort of in-between things. Like, my personal opinion, because I have inquired about different religions my whole life. I'm always like looking and seeking and etc. So, for example, you know, those people in, was it Guyana? When I was a little girl, there was a mass suicide took place in Guyana. That's in it's in South America, but it's not a Spanish-speaking country. It's like in the northern east part. Look on the map, you'll see. You know, this guy Tom Jones had established a commune there of people, and well, it turned out it was this, you know, bunch of crazy cult. It was a big crazy cult, and as it turns out, there were people who had wanted to try to escape and they couldn't, because he had set up a commune deep in the jungle, and it was hard to get there, and it turns out they all committed suicide. Well, committed suicide or were murdered, because some of them, when they realized how far this religion had taken them, and the leader, his name was Tom Jones, had said it's time to all, you know, murder ourselves or kill ourselves or whatever. You know, some of the people said, no, whoa, I'm out of here. And at that point, they were not allowed to leave and apparently forced to drink the poison. And so anyway, the whole hundreds of people, I don't remember what the number was, a lot of people, they all committed suicide, or they were all dead. Okay, so that's obviously a cult. There was another one out there in Texas, in Waco, Texas. I was a teen at that point. I think I was in college, a little after college. That took place. There was a commune in Waco, Texas, and David Koreshi, I think that guy was. Again, you know, a big explosion. People were, you know, the feds decided they were going to go in, the firearms and tobacco people, and, you know, just disband the commune, because apparently a lot of crazy stuff was going on in there. Well, anyway, a bunch of people died. The house caught fire. I think it exploded, and everybody died. So, you know, again, that is a very obvious cult, where it's not religion. It's just sort of people that are, you know, the people who get drawn into cults are ordinarily, I would say, and from the reading I've done, are people who, you know, very lonely, for example, like I sometimes get. So there's one risk factor there. But in my case, I don't think I would ever get drawn, and at this age, especially I'm 50, I don't think I could ever get drawn into a religious cult. Because there's something else that prevents, you know, there's, you know, a lot of people are lonely and don't join religious cults, but I can kind of see how someone in a more vulnerable position than myself, for example, I'm living a life and it's sort of half baked, you know, I've got a sort of a job and I have a roof over my head, and fortunately, again, I always point out that my parents, you know, are kind enough to provide me with this shelter, and other people are in worse positions than me, and I have the ability to make friends easily if I want to. I'm not a very social person in general. I do like to spend time alone. It's kind of strange because I say, "Oh, I'm lonely," etc. But then when I'm too overstimulated with social activities, like I try to force myself to go out, and I can only take so much social activity. I'm sort of like, okay, I went out, like last Friday I went out with a girl that I've known for a few years, sort of casually. So we went out, a woman, you know, she's my age, 50. You know, it was a nice time, but, you know, we'd spent a few hours. There was a grand opening of another new shopping mall. Miami is just growing in leaps and bounds. It was a shopping mall and residences. I've got that video as well up there. So, but by the end of the evening, I'm like, okay, it's enough. I'm tired. I kind of just wanted to go home, and now that's fine. I had my taste of going out for a while with, you know, for social. But anyway, somehow, so I clicked on getting back to this cult thing that I went to tonight, or I don't know if it's a cult or what it is, but I don't want to say the name because I don't want to insult people who may, even maybe some of you are members of this religion, or it begins with a B. That's what I'm going to say. But you know, nice. The people were very wholesome and clean-cut, wholesome people, which I'm usually more drawn to. I'm sort of a prude myself, so I go in there. I go into the meeting, a very luxurious building, the place where this meeting took. Now, apparently, it's not always at this place. It's always, they take turns going to people's houses. Once a month, the meetings are. So I walk in, and I was a little bit late, but oh, they welcome me with open arms, and you know, oh, please, please come in, sit down. Yes, welcome, welcome. So sat down, and they were talking about after death experiences, people with near death experiences. They were talking about. So that was the topic for the evening: near death experience. And you know, some people in the room had actually had these experiences, or had known people to have had near death experience. And they showed a video of a gentleman who also had an experience. And you know, the stories we hear, there's a tunnel with lights, and then he gets to the end of the tunnel and he sees members of his family, and then at some point he had the choice to either stay or go back, in the case of the guy in the video. And the man chose to return to life, to life here on earth, and he came back, and now he's enlightened, etc. And after that, this man joined this religion that I'm talking about. That was his. For some reason, after that experience, he decided to join the faith of these people, the religion. So of course they're going to show that video, you know. But then people in the room also, one guy had talked about how he was in West Africa and he had unknowingly taken, I'm sorry, he had unknowingly taken some kind of herb that's from West Africa that's hallucinogenic. And I don't know, somehow he related that to the near-death experience. He said, yes, I you know, in a way, he was sort of saying it to give credence to the video, but personally, to myself, of course, I didn't vocalize that. Everybody was in the meeting. There was absolutely no one who was against anything. You know, there was no protest against the facts of the meeting, and which, I don't know, I might have brought it up, but I was like, I'm not going to do. But anyway, so he had unknowingly taken a root, some kind of hallucinogenic root that was given to him, and he started having these same experiences as the guy spoke of in the video. So somehow he made that into, that's proof that afterlife experiences exist, that it's true in the hereafter. And I was thinking to myself, there's no logic there. The guy
took a drug. It was a hallucinogen. So how does that prove? I was obviously not going to, maybe it is true. I'm still not saying that life after death is fake, but what that man was arguing is completely illogical. Taking a drug, hey, people, from what I hear, take heroin and have these wonderful experiences. It doesn't mean there's like no correlation between taking a drug and experiencing these after-death experiences. Supposedly, if you understand what I'm saying, I'm maybe not explaining myself properly, but so that kind of like, it's like, okay, well, he wasn't the main speaker, so it's okay if the in like setting aside all my preconceived notions about cults, so let's set aside all that. If the followers have aired logic, you can say, okay, well, they're just followers, they're just like me, they don't know. But the leader has to be on point. He cannot have any failed logic at any point, or he's going to lose at least the people who are more questioning of the religion. So, you have certain people that maybe don't have training. I went to college after all, and I took classes in logic, classes in critical thinking. So I do have some preparation. I can imagine perhaps someone who didn't have the privileges that I've had in my life, the ability to get an education, as mediocre as my education may have been, it's still it helped me somehow. But then the speaker himself, now I don't remember exactly, but he also had some failed logic in what he said. So I was like, okay, and still, that doesn't mean that this is a horrible, dangerous religion. And apparently these people do a lot of community service, work for the community. And, I always support that. If you're doing good for the community and not expecting anything in return, that's good. Catholics themselves do that. They'll offer community support and community service. That's part of our religion. We're told, and most religions will encourage you to do service to your community, help the poor, etc. And while, of course, the Catholic religion hopes and encourages the people that we serve. I say we because I was raised Catholic, but I'm really not a devout Catholic. We, of course, will hope that they will see the light, in quotes, and see that our religion is the correct one. I'm speaking in an objective point at this point. You're not obligated. Here, we are going to help this, we're going to do this community service, and no obligation to give back. And at least in my experience, the Catholics are the least insistent on you following the religion. Now that could be because it is such a it is a very strong religion, the Catholic religion. So maybe we don't need, I keep saying we because whether I like it or not, I obviously do have some connection I do feel some pull towards the Catholic religion because that's how I was raised. It's sort of inevitable. And not necessarily by my own parents, but my community, my high school. I went to Catholic high school, so I definitely am biased, and I recognize that I'm biased in favor of the Catholic religion, with all the negativity that the negative things that have come to light in the past about it, etc. For the most part, it's a religion I support. It's an established religion. It's not a cult. You're free to come and go. You might get drawn in by the beauty of the churches, etc. But you're also completely free to leave, and nobody's going to make you feel bad about it, or they'll at best try to encourage you to please come back if you stay in contact with the people. But it's no pressure. I am blabbing, I'm rambling. But the religious cults are more persistent, and it could be because they are not as strong. for example, if you're a very strong religion, you have enough followers, although the Catholic religion is losing followers for various reasons, which is why you have this new pope. Unofficially, I believe that they replaced the old pope. There was, he was just out quick, sort of without warning, as far as I can tell. And then the new pope was sworn in. They needed to do something drastic because there were some, if some of you recall, there were some very serious issues with the church before this new pope took over, and during the other pope. Not that the pope himself at that time was a bad guy, but he just didn't make certain decisions that needed to be made that would, improve the perception of the Catholic religion. They needed a more liberal pope in place, and one who wasn't afraid to be politically incorrect, in quotes. So actually, the current pope, not a lot of Catholics. I'm happy with him. He's Argentine by coincidence, but that's not why I like him. But some of the more conservative Catholics are not extremely thrilled by him. But I think for the good of the religion, it was a good idea to put him in there. It's a business, after all. Religion, while it could be based on truth, if you're a believer, I'm not saying it's not, you do need to... It has to be financially viable. It has to have. Otherwise, people aren't going to donate. They're not going to feel confident donating. It's a whole thing. I can't. I mean, I'm going to go off on such a big tangent that so I'm not going to do that right now. But my point is, I'm not dissing any religion. I'm not dissing the Catholic religion for sure. And I'm also not saying it's true. I'm not saying it. I'm an agnostic. So I'm always sort of, I have no idea. Basically, that's what an agnostic is. You have absolutely no idea. So you're not discarding any possibility. Whereas an atheist is more, decided. It's not true, period. That's it. We die and that's it, But I'll always be an agnostic. I guess I'll always have that sort of healthy criticism of all religions, whereas also respecting that it could possibly be true, and also respecting people who are deep believers, because even assuming the worst, let's assume that, they're just poor people that just need something to believe in. Well, even if it is just that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with an established religion. Well, okay, I don't want to go into this. I'm sorry. I also don't want to get too political, on YouTube. But a lot of good things have come out of the Catholic religion, and a lot of bad things. Oops, that's my alarm. It's Saturday, so it's 5:45 in the morning. I set the alarm and I can't sleep now. Weekends I get up at the same time as during the week, because your clock is there. Let me have a sip of coffee. Oh, that's good. It's getting cold though. While I'm blabbing, hang on a second. Let me get back on track. I might have to split this video up because I wanted to stay on the topic of this cult meeting that I went to. If it's a cult. I don't know. It was kind of culty feeling. So, anyways, I walk in there talking about near-death experiences. Another guy said something. Now, this particular meeting, there was a lot of talk about God and the afterlife and going up, to wherever we go after death and all that, and just basic stuff. In this particular meeting, there was no talk of Jesus. So I don't know if it's a Christian religion. I might do some more research just out of curiosity. I honestly don't think I'm going to go to another meeting because I didn't feel any kind of, there are even some Catholic churches, between them, there are certain churches that will do sort of a more philosophical analysis of the Bible, and others that are more surface level. I like to do the more in-depth analysis of the Bible, which is what I enjoyed with the Jehovah's Witnesses. I never joined, and I don't believe I'll ever join a religion, 100%. But there was a time when I was married and I was feeling very lonely and I was dissatisfied with my marriage. That's usually when religion will come in, when you're feeling vulnerable and you need something, you need something to grasp onto. So be careful, especially younger people who haven't developed certain tools to cope with the realities of life all the time. They might get drawn in to a cult more easily than, say, a woman my age who I've been around. I mean, I've been somewhat sheltered all my life, but I've been, I've seen things in life and I've lived, and you sort of become more skeptical of things. So there was this time where I was feeling kind of whatever. So some Jehovah's Witnesses came to the door, and there I felt like a ton of bricks, and oh yes, come in, let's talk, and tell me. And I just at that point was feeling so lonely, and I had isolated myself. I didn't need to feel lonely, but I'll do that. I'll complain that I'm lonely, but it's because I've also isolated myself. But I was, my marriage was not so great. I had basically was not talking to my husband much, except just, what are we going to eat for dinner, those things. But there was no more, I had given up on the marriage. He didn't know it yet, but my stepkids, two of my stepdaughters were just being so cruel to me. Well, teenagers, they were teenagers, and I was a bad teenager too. I was mean to my parents. I'll confess, when I was a teenager. So they were going through that stage of rebellion and etc. And the boys were okay at that point, but just everything was horrible. And I shortly after, like a year after that, I actually left. But anyway, before that, I was still not decided that I was leaving. And some Jehovah's Witnesses, two ladies, came to the door, and we started talking. And I just liked it. And I do turn to the Bible and to churches sometimes. The Catholic Church, usually I'll go and sit in a church and go to a mass every few years when I'm really feeling, the need. So, whatever. But they were right there at the door. I mean, how much easier it's like delivery, pizza delivery. So, came in, we read from the Bible, and I really did, I was impressed, actually. I'd never really, other than them coming on the street trying to sell me some literature or, offer me literature, I never really had spoken in depth with a Jehovah's Witness. So I was, at least those two ladies, were talking, and, the basics we were talking about. And then we read a little from the Bible, and I was impressed by how well the lady analyzed the Bible. There's the believer, that will read the Bible and sort of believe and not really go more in depth into the analysis, into the breaking down of each paragraph and what it means. And Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe the Bible literally. Some religions do. The Jehovah's Witnesses believe the Bible as a sort of symbolic thing, which makes more sense to me. So that also showed a little bit more cerebral approach to the Bible than I'd experienced some of it in Catholic school. We also did that in our religion class. We analyzed the Bible, and it's called Bible study. It's very interesting. Even if you're not a religious person, it's worth your time to go to one of the established religions and do Bible study and, see how each religion actually interprets the Bible. And it's the same with other religions. It's the same with the Jewish people. You have different Jewish sects, and they each have a different approach to their book. I think it's the Torah. Torah. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Muslims also, they have the Quran, and each sect there are many different sects in the Muslim religion as well, And each of them approaches the Bible, the Quran, from a different perspective. Some take it more literally, some take it more symbolically, etc. Which is, again, why you cannot, just like you can't lump all Christians into one basket, you can't lump all Muslims into one basket, because each of them have different extremities, extremes to their, the ones who interpret it literally are obviously the ones that we are sort of scared of, because and even the ones who interpret it literally are not usually the ones causing the trouble, in the world. But anyway, again, I want to stay off politics and all that, but I really want to get back to this cult meeting because it was kind of funny. So anyway, I wake up. You hear my alarm. It rings at 5:45, and I'm usually awake before that. My internal clock is now set that way because I got to get dressed, during the week and go to work, and I like to have my coffee and have time and catch the bus, etc. So of course, by the time the meeting started, it was 8 o'clock. That's when it was started. I got there at 8:15. I got there a little late, but so I was tired, but I had decided, I had already told the girl I was going, and and I was very interested in their community service, because that's their major selling point. I don't want to. It's not selling point. They do a lot of community service. I don't know if it's a cult or what it is. I got to do more research, but. So I thought to myself, well, these are people who actually, it's part of their religion. It's to focus mainly on community service. And it appears that they're not so wrapped up in what God thinks and judging. It seemed like a very loose religion, if you will. But that's what appeared from the video. Like their main focus is community service. More so than I'd ever experienced with any other. I mean, all religions do community service, but this one seemed to be, that was their number one thing. And then, of course, also following the Word of God, etc., as whatever they were talking about. So that's the part that interested me. So I wanted to find out. I said, hey, if this is a bunch of people that want to do good for the community, I mean, I've got here volunteers already, because I have some ideas of things that I'd like to do for the community, but I needed some inspiration. So, and I did get that from the meeting. I may not go back to a meeting of these people, but well, anyway, I walk in, they're talking about near-death experience, blah, 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 what I just said. And so I was so tired, and they gave us this handout. We had to, and we just went around the room. There were about 20 people there, and everyone's reading one paragraph from this handout and analyzing each paragraph, and I was like falling asleep. I'm usually in bed, by that time, 8:15, 9. I'm in bed, not necessarily asleep, but I'm relaxing. My eyes are closed. I'm just... So, oh my gosh. So I had the handout. And, ASMR people will understand this. When you hear the droning of voices, it's a very peaceful environment. You just get very relaxed. So at one point, suddenly I hear a noise. It was my handout had dropped to the floor. And I don't know how long I was asleep, but I was feeling my eyes starting to close, before that. And I was like thinking to myself, oh my gosh, it was a little bit boring. I mean, it's not because it was boring that I fell asleep. And, but I fell asleep in my handout. It's very quiet, the people peacefully reading, talking, and boom, my handout hit, the edge. It's not like just the paper. That would have been funny too, the paper flying across the floor if it had hit on the flat side, but it hit on the edge where it makes a noise, and the floor was made of wood. So boom, you hear the edge of the paper, and that's what woke me up. A few people looked at me. I just, I'm sorry. I got up very early this morning. I didn't want to be rude, I was actually before that point thinking maybe, because we were halfway through the handout, it was going to take another half hour. People were reading so slow. And I was thinking to myself before I fell asleep, maybe I should just excuse myself and go home because I'm about to fall asleep. But anyway, I didn't get to that point because I actually fell asleep. So, I'm sorry. I got up early this morning. I got up at 5. They were all, we understand, that's fine. And then they kept reading, no big deal. So, okay, so finally that all ended. I was still kind of tired, but after that it kind of woke me up, a little bit. But then after the meeting, I was like, oh my goodness, because then after the meeting, there's like, after the reading and the analysis and all this, it was time to leave, it was time to mingle, I mean. Oh, okay, everybody, thank you for coming. Next meeting will be next month. We'll decide whose house it's going to be at. It goes to every month a different person's house. And now mingle, So they had set up a little bit of food and, nice little things. Vegetables and sweets and different things. There was meat. I didn't eat the meat. So at that point, the lady who had invited me came up to me. Oh, nice to meet you. I hadn't had a chance to meet her because I walked in the middle. I hadn't gotten there early enough. So I'm so-and-so. I'm the one who spoke with you on the phone. Oh, nice to meet you. And I said to her, I really have to apologize. I get up so early in the morning, and at this hour, I'm just, I was working, and now I'm so tired. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to disrespect, the meeting. And, oh, that's understandable. I understand. She was really sweet, and everybody was really nice. And so she said, oh, come mingle, let's talk. I said, I really, and at this point I had already decided this is not for me. This whatever it is, culture, it's nice and everything, but I had already, seen the flawed logic in the actual speaker who was leading the meeting. So I was like, I like it. I like the fact that they want to do community service, but it's not really, I could join a community group and I could do volunteer work with another group that isn't religious, and yeah, I mean, I'm always a little uncomfortable with the non-established religions because you don't know if it's a cult or what it might be. So in my head, I had already decided I'm probably not coming to the next meeting, but so I told her, well, I really need to go home. Oh, no, wait, you have to stay, meet some of the people. So I did feel a little pressured by, politeness to stay. And, there was food after all. So I went to the table, got a plate, and we were talking. And, the people were just very wholesome. There was a lot of that, what do you call it? People, in the mingling session, people were talking about alternative medicine and things that it could be considered quackery. Not all. I know that some alternative medicine is actually very good and awesome, and the Eastern philosophies and all that. And there were. That's the main thing. So one girl was talking about her 19-day fast that she just finished, which that part I don't really go for. I don't think that's healthy. But but there's a belief in some, and you might even look at veganism as sort of a religious. It's become somewhat religious to some people. Where they start incorporating these alternative medicines and all, alternative not lifestyles, what's the word? They do like fasts and cleansing and things which, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm thinking maybe 1 or 2 days of fasting isn't going to kill anybody, but I just don't think prolonged fasting is a good idea. So this girl had talked about her 19-day fast that she'd just gotten over, and she feels so cleansed and refreshed. It sounds more like a eating disorder to me, but she was not skinny. She was an average weight girl, but so I didn't give my opinion on that. I really didn't want to get into it, and plus I don't have any authority. I just don't think that many people would condone, any doctors wouldn't condone a 19-day fast. And she said she did eat something though, so I don't know, fasting, it sounded to me she reduced her eating. It wasn't really fasting, because she actually said after sundown she would eat, which in turn reminded me, and that was the other thing. In the meeting, we were all talking, the after death experience. There were like little elements of different religions, because they said something. I wish I'd kept the handout. I gave it back because I didn't want to waste paper. I knew I was probably going to end up throwing it out, and I said, okay, maybe they could use it for. I'm very conscious about the environment. I don't want to waste paper, those kind of things. But there was one of the paragraphs that we were reading that even reminded me of the Muslim religion, just a tinge of Muslim, not all hardcore Muslim. Because I've studied the Muslim religion too, study from an objective point of view, because I like to learn about all the religions to understand where everybody's coming from. So there was that tinge. And then when this girl said, oh, I was just finished my 19-day fast, but I would eat after sundown, she said. So like during the day I wouldn't eat, but then I would eat after sundown. That reminded me of what the Muslims do at Ramadan. When they do their fasting, it's during the day. And after sundown, they're allowed to eat. And I thought, so I didn't pursue it any further because I really didn't want to get into deep conversation with anyone. So I didn't really, but I was curious about that because I've heard of the fasting, the vegans who do their fasting, but I'd never heard of the ones of necessarily a vegan or someone who believes in fasting, even if they're not vegan, the fasting treatments or I'd never heard of them eating after sundown. You fast for the length of the fast, and then you end the fast. So that kind of, I thought it was curious, oh, you eat after sundown, and it reminded me of people I knew from Washington, D.C. who were Muslims. I worked at the World Bank, so I had a lot of different exposure to different people from all over the world. Washington, D.C. is that's an awesome place. I mean, if you want to, if you don't have the opportunity to travel to countries all around the world, if you live in Washington, D.C. and work at a multinational organization, you are exposed to everything, to all parts of the world. It was really a wonderful experience. If you're a young person and wondering and you want to travel but you don't have the money, I'd say move to Washington, D.C. It was a wonderful. I kind of regret leaving. I mean, I'm not going to go back at this point. It's just not. I mean, I'd have to start all over again. But if you're a young person and you're not sure what to do, move to Washington, D.C., I would say, and try to get work in a multinational organization. But even if you don't, there are so many opportunities to mingle with people from all over the world. The ambassadors all live there from different parts of the world. That's where all the embassies are, and then you have a lot of multinational organizations that you can work for. It helps to have a second language under your belt, English and another language, ideally Spanish or French, which are the more used languages. But now I assume even an Arabic speaking person would have more demand because of all of we need so much diplomacy now. With the current president, who's quite controversial, whether you love him or hate him, he's a controversial guy. It wouldn't hurt to have some diplomatic personalities around him. Don't get sucked into cults. That's the point. If you're feeling lonely and vulnerable, don't get sucked into a cult. That's my... Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.